What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our Week 3 team builder of the GBA Season 6. This week we are going up against John, aka Pokemon. He is a great guy. I have looked up to him for a very long time. Definitely, if you, for whatever reason, haven't already, check out his channel. It'll be in the description below. And very quickly, let us just get into his team real quick. He's got a very scary team, and I'm a little bit nervous to face it, but I feel like I have built a team of 6 that will be able to handle it relatively well. I think I've been able to pinpoint some of his weaknesses, and I should be able to capitalize that. But anyway, his team, and I have it down on my phone, should be popping up right now. I feel like that'll be a little bit more pleasurable for you guys to view instead of me swapping between 2 different tabs. So, John's team includes Mega Lopunny, Reuniclus, a combination I'm very familiar with, Latios, Landorus Therian, Umbreon, Gastrodon, Escavalier, Granbull, Rotom Cut, Avalugg, and Bisharp. So, his team is definitely very threatening. He's got a lot of good physical offense. He's got some good special offense as well. He's got a lot of solid bulk. He's got Slow Baton Pass. He's got Wish Pass. He's got Clerics. He's got Pursuit Trappers. He's got a lot of solid parts to his team, but something that I noticed with his team is that his speed tiers were kind of all over the place. Not necessarily all over the place. It goes Mega Lopunny at 135, and then you got Latios at 110, and then you have Landorus T at 91, and then it just drops straight down to like Bisharp at level 70, or at base 70. So without further ado, let's get into the team that I am going to be bringing. Starting off, we're going to be bringing our Accelgor this week. First time this season. Focus Sash Unburden. Relatively standard Spikes lead set, however, as you can see, I am running Protect. That is specifically to dodge a Fake Out from Mega Lopunny. I will be able to outspeed the Mega Lopunny. He will not be able to get a Fake Out off on me. If he's running Fake Out plus Quick Attack, he will not be able to abuse that, because like I said, I do have the Protect. It blocks the Fake Out, and I can potentially scare him out, because John is going to know that I outspeed him, and I can either hit him with a Final Gambit or a Focus Blast, which will do massive damage to him. Final Gambit will knock it out. Focus Blast may knock him out as well, and he's not going to want to do that, so I can potentially scare him out with that. Here we have Bug Buzz and Focus Blast. Bug Buzz, just for general stab, also hits things like the Latios, Reuniclus, the Umbreon, the Rotom Cut. It does massive damage to the Bisharp and the Avalugg, respectively. And then Focus Blast. Like I said, that is just to hit the Mega Lopunny. I was thinking about running HP Ice over Focus Blast, but I determined that Landorus was not quite as big a threat as the Mega Lopunny, even though I do have checks to the Mega Lopunny. And something I noticed while looking at John's team is that he's relatively Hazards weak. He doesn't like Hazard Stack. That's a big reason why George decided to bring Toxic Spikes on Mega Beedrill, just because even though that sounds extremely weird, it worked because his team is weak to hazards. Granted, I do not have Toxic Spikes on this team, but regular Spikes will do just fine in combination with Rocks, which I'll hopefully be able to get up during the match as well. So relatively standard Accelgor. If I can keep this thing around, then that would be great, because like I said, it actually puts a decent amount of offensive pressure on his team. Like I said, the Umbreon, the Rotom, etc. But its main job is to just get up a few layers of spikes. Hopefully, at least 1. 3 would be nice. Ideally, I could somehow get up 3 and then have this thing around later to fire off some hits, but regardless, main job, just get up spikes, make it so that my other Pokemon will be able to have an easier time taking down the rest of his team. Now, with that out of the way, let us move on to the next Pokemon on our roster. This is another relatively standard set, except for the fact that we are running a Garchomp without Earthquake. And the reason for that is the combination of Dragon Tail, Fire Blast, and Toxic essentially hit his entire team. His best switch into Garchomp is more than likely going to be the Landorus Therian. He can switch it in, take any physical hit, hit me with an HP Ice if he has it. I'm not sure if he's going to have it, but it's definitely a possibility. Landorus has a usable special attack stat. So I'd much rather just get a Toxic off on the Landorus incoming. Also, I can take any hit versus the Landorus set of Rocks, which are going to be very nice. Dragon Tail phases his team around. Like I said, I'm bringing Hazards, so the ability to just kind of phase his team in and out is going to be very nice. His another very good switch into the Garchomp is his Granbull, which again, I am totally fine with hitting with the Toxic, because if Granbull is forced to go for a Heal Bell, I can... well, first of all, if Granbull has Heal Bell, he'll be forced to go for it, and that gives me momentum into something like my Amoonguss, which can potentially put something to sleep. Or, if he doesn't have Heal Bell, then that thing will be gradually worn down, and it does not have any natural recovery, bar leftovers or rest, of course. So that is why I have Toxic on there. And like I said, Ground just does not do a lot for me on his team. His only ground weakness is Bisharp, which I hit super effectively with Fire Blast anyway. Fire Blast is also for the Escavalier, does massive damage to Avalugg. So again, I just don't really need Earthquake for this match. I would rather just status things and wear things down. Would kind of be nice to have Earthquake to hit the Reuniclus starter, but if I know John, like I think I know John, it's probably going to be Regenerator anyway. But regardless, that is what we have. Spread, actually just the exact standard Tank Chomp spread you would see in OU. Enough speed to outspeed Jolly Base 70s, aka Bisharp, and then the rest in physical defense. Just meant to switch into a plethora of different things. This is meant to switch into the Lopunny. I can take an HP Ice plus Fake Out. Oh, Fake Out plus HP Ice. I can switch into the Bisharp very well. I switch into the Umbreon potentially, can set up rocks versus that, Toxic it if I want to. I check the Rotom pretty well, because Leaf Storm will not be able to knock me out, and I can set up rocks with that or hit it with a Fire Blast. So this is just a very nice Mon versus his team. Allows me to get good chip damage off on things like the Bisharp, things like the Mega Lopunny, things that are big threats to my team, and I will just hopefully be able to clean up later on with my offensive Pokemon and their priority. So with Tank Chomp out of the way, let's get into our Mandibuzz now. As you can see, we're running a mixed defensive set. This spread is essentially enough to take 2 Life Orb Draco Meteors from Latios, 1, and then the next one at -2 I will be able to take, and then roost off the damage. And then we have Foul Play, U-Turn, Taunt, and Roost. Now, Taunt just shuts down his bulk very nicely. It shuts down the Gastrodon for the most part. Best it can do is Scald Burn me, which granted is still very good, but I can at least prevent it from recovering and keep it low. I switch into the Escavalier decently. Mega Horn still hurts, but Foul Play will hurt it a lot in return. And if he's locked into Mega Horn, I do have appropriate switch-ins to that. I can U-turn out versus things like the Grand Bull that I cannot otherwise touch. I can switch into the Mega Lopunny decently. I can actually take 2 Adamant High Jump Kicks with the leftovers, which is very nice. I completely shut down the Reuniclus. The only thing Reuniclus can possibly hit me with is Thunder, which A, if he's defensive, still will not 2 KO me, and B, if it's a calm mindset, I can taunt it and shut it down. I can U-turn out versus it. I can just wear it down with Foul Play, because like I said, once he's taunted, he can't recover. I can just spam Foul Play until it goes down. And this is actually a pretty decent check to the Bisharp, because granted Foul Play will not do a lot, but Bisharp cannot do a lot back to me, and the only way he can do a lot to me is if he sets up Swords Dances, and the more Swords Dances he sets up, the more Foul Play is going to do. And like I said, this team deals with Bisharp really well, so I'm kind of not expecting it to come, but even if he does bring it, I do have very good checks, being my Tank Chomp, being the Mandibuzz, the Emboar, that we'll get into in a little bit. So this Mandibuzz, like I said, is just a very nice bulky pivot for his team, shuts down a lot of his bulk, hits a lot of his physically offensive mons very hard. Foul Play ignores the Intimidate from Landorus, which is very nice, and I can potentially U-turn out versus that and gain momentum into something like my Azumarill to threaten that, or U-turn out in my Garchomp to set up rocks or hit something with a Toxic. So similar to last week, Mandibuzz is going to be used as a defensive pivot, switch into things like Latios, deal a lot of damage, well, not even deal a lot of damage, but switch into things like Latios, U-turn out versus them, taunt the bulk, and then Foul Play the things that want to hit me hard. So with Mandibuzz out of the way, now let's move on to the final part of our defensive core. We have very similar set as last time, physically defensive Amoonguss, a little bit of speed to make sure. Essentially, this speed allows me to hopefully outspeed his Reuniclus. I outspeed it by a couple points, and I can potentially put it to sleep before he hits me with a Psychic move. This is my best switch into something like the Rotom Cut. If he decides to go for a trick, sure, he will be crippling me, but he will also be crippling himself because he will have Black Sludge and will be losing health consistently. Also, I have Foul Play over Hidden Power Fire. Even though Hidden Power Fire hits the Escavalier 4 times effective, if he has a Assault Vest, Foul Play actually does a little bit more. And like I said earlier with Mandibuzz, if his Bisharp starts setting up Swords Dances, I'll be able to continuously do more damage to that with Foul Play anyway, and like I said, I do have very good switch-ins to Bisharp regardless, so I'm not super afraid of it. Spore is going to be very key this match. I feel like his best switch into this is going to be his Escavalier if he brings it, because obviously with Overcoat I cannot put it to sleep with Spore. However, if I hit it with a Foul Play on the way in, I'll be able to do like 30 to 40%, and that's going to be very nice because Escavalier is a very threatening Pokemon. Even though I do have good physical bulk, it just hits very hard with that Stab Mega Horn. Now, not too much else to go over with this mon. I'm physically defensive just because most of his mons are physically oriented. It's a very good switch into the Grand Bull. Even if he's offensive with Fire Punch, I should be able to take it relatively well. Rotom still can't touch me regardless, so we're fine in that aspect. Can take 2 Adamant returns from Mega Lopunny, barely, but I just do take it, and I can potentially put it to sleep. And that's all I really got to go over on Spawn. Like I said, Speed Creeper Uniclus, hopefully put that to sleep if he's not Safety Goggles, and we're good to go. Now, I've just gone over our Wall Core. Earlier on, I did go over our pseudo-suicide lead in Accelgor. Now, let's get into the main offensive portion of this team in Azumarill and Emboar. Now, I'm going to be kind of talking about these things similarly because they essentially have the same job on this team against John, and that is just to break through his entire roster. His team does not have switch-ins to Banded Play Rough or Banded Flare Blitz. They 2 KO pretty much everything on John's team, bar a physically defensive Landorus, I believe. And for Flare Blitz is not 2 KO a physically defensive Gastrodon. Play Rough 2 KOs everything on John's team, bar physically defensive Landorus, which he's not going to want to switch in because I do have the Waterfall. Even if he does switch it in, making a good prediction like that, he does not have natural recovery, so I'll be able to wear that down, and he will not become a switch in after that. Now, Azumarill, as you can see, Play Rough, Waterfall, Knockoff, and Aqua Jet. Enough speed to outspeed an uninvested Umbreon by a few points. I just want to be able to outspeed that and hit it with a Play Rough before it can hit me with a Foul Play or Status Me or get up a Wish or whatever it wants to do, which is why I want to outspeed that. The move coverage, I really only needed Play Rough, Waterfall, and Aqua Jet to 2 KO his entire team. Aqua Jet I would like for the priority, can potentially sweep up with that late game. Knockoff is essentially just there to knock off items, so that's a very nice thing to do, and really just to hit the Reuniclus in case I need to hit that a little bit harder. Like if I've confirmed it's not Colberberry, I can hit that with a knockoff, do massive damage to it. If it's not physically defensive, it should be able to knock it out, which is very nice. And it's relatively self-explanatory. He does not have a great switch into it, and with the type of mons he has on his team, things like the Umbreon, the Gastrodon, Escavalier, even the Grand Bull, Bisharp, Azumarill's gonna have a free switch-in a lot, not necessarily a free switch-in, but especially if I pull an aggressive switch, or I let something go down, and then I send in Azumarill, he's kind of screwed because he has to decide what he wants to sack off in that moment, which is very good because that's going to put a lot of pressure on his team. The next mon I am going to cover in comparison to Azumarill is my Emboar. Very similar role to Azumarill, like I said earlier, just wall break through his team and potentially clean up with priority. We have Flare Blitz just because it nukes his team entirely. His only switch into Flare Blitz is a physically defensive Landorus T, and even then it's taking about 40% and it can only switch in once and it doesn't want to, and it does not have recovery. Superpower is just so I can hit things like the Umbreon. If I don't want to be taking that Flare Blitz recoil, I can knock something out with a Superpower instead. Sucker Punch is primarily there for the Latios. If he decides to attack my Emboar, I can just clean knock it out with a Sucker Punch. I believe it is just a straight up OHKO on a non-invested Latios in HP. And then we have Hidden Power Grass. You may be asking yourself why I'm not running Grass Knot. Hidden Power Grass is specifically for the Gastrodon. Hidden Power Grass and Grass Knot do the exact same amount of damage to the Gastrodon. The Min Roll and the Max Roll are the exact same. The reason I'm running Hidden Power Grass over Grass Knot is because Grass Knot, despite being a special attack, is a contact move. So, suppose he brings a Rocky Helmet Gastrodon. Don't think he would, but he might, because maybe he wants to switch it in on my Azumarill, get some Rocky Helmet damage off, even switch it on this, get some Rocky Helmet damage off. I can knock it out with the combination of any of my attacking moves and Hidden Power Grass, and, like I said, because Grass Knot is a contact move, it would cause me to take Rocky Helmet damage if you were to have it. With Hidden Power Grass, I can freely go for it, and just have no fear regarding Rocky Helmet. Like, suppose he is Rocky Helmet and I did have Grass Knot. He switched it in. On a Flare Blitz, I'm taking Flare Blitz recoil, taking Rocky Helmet, taking Life Orb, and then I have to hit it with the Grass Knot. I'm taking Rocky Helmet, I'm taking Life Orb, and I'm just getting worn down immediately. It's nice to get rid of his Gastrodon, but one of my biggest offensive threats to his team is almost gone at that point. I want the ability to keep this around as long as I can, this end of Azumarill, and Hidden Power Grass may be able to give me just a little bit more longevity, and that's why I have that over Grass Knot. Alright, thank you guys very much for watching the Team Builder for Week 3 of the GBA. My name is Monatui. Like I said, check out John. His link will be in the description below. Wonderful guy. He just started up an Egglock that I'm very excited to start watching. And that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.